Filing complaints and exposing the truth about politicians who like to break the law, well, this has become a hobby of mine. And let me share with you what I've been up to lately. Thank you for watching. My name is Glen Morgan, and this is We the Governed. And we are reporting from Washington State because I'm primarily going to be discussing the campaign finance laws in Washington State and who's decided to break them. And as always, I have a trigger warning in the beginning of these videos that although I don't plan on speaking about Inslee's Ministry of COVID Compliance, I want to be clear that they have not approved anything I'm going to say, and probably anybody in the political establishment doesn't want you to hear what I have to say. So if you only want to listen to what they've approved, please stop listening right now. And as many people know, I have spent a lot of time over the years, and I've documented pretty well on my website at We the Governed, lots of people, about 76 different politicians, judges, and PACs who've been fined, another 110 or so at this point in time who have received formal warning letters from the Public Disclosure Commission, and over $607,000 worth of fines that have been imposed based on just efforts I've made as a regular citizen activist exposing the truth about corruption and their failure to follow the laws, either the ethics laws or the campaign finance laws of Washington State. So I figured I'd just give a little wrap up of some of these that I've been involved in. I've been doing quite a few lately, and sometimes I don't tend to talk about this very much. People who watch these videos think I am primarily a video guy, but actually I'm an activist first, and videos tend to come second for me. And so I just want to give you an update so that you know what's going on. And I'll just start geographically. It's an easier way to organize things. If you look over here, this is Wacom County, the furthest northern county that we have, right up by the Canadian border. I used to live there. I love Wacom County. It's a beautiful place. And it's also a place filled with a lot of people who seem to like to break the campaign finance laws. And so the first group that I thought I'd mention here, just based on a complaint I filed a few weeks ago, is the Wacom County Democrats. And no surprise, they broke the law again. And in this case, they decided to accept illegal over-limit corporate contributions from the Lummi tribe multiple years in a row. And they put this in their hard money account. They know the rules, they know the law, but they've decided to break the law anyway, probably presuming that nobody was paying attention. In this case, you can look it up on the Public Disclosure Commission. They have a case number tracking system there. It's 102127 if you want to look at this case and track it for yourself. And we'll see what happens. It doesn't mean anybody's going to jail over this or anything. It just means that they broke the law and they're going to have to find some way of remedying this or correcting it and getting warned or fined, or maybe just a wrist slap from the Public Disclosure Commission. But either way, there's no doubt they broke the law, and they're going to have to correct it, and that was one of the groups that I caught. Just staying in Wacom County, sticking to the theme of Wacom County Democrats breaking the law, we had Barry Buchanan on the Wacom County Council and Michael Lilliquist, who's on the Bellingham City Council, biggest city in Wacom County. Both of them actually broke the same law, and separately in their own ways, and they decided to either misuse and disappear and basically campaign funds between their two campaigns. These are both incumbents who got reelected, and so sometime between the 2017 and the 2021 campaigns, they decided to disappear a lot of money, and thousands of dollars in some cases. And what's interesting, one of them did it for multiple campaigns in a row, and the other one did it just between these two. Lilliquist, who's a city council member there, he's already been warned by the PDC once in 2018. When I say warned, I mean it's a formal warning letter they sent to him for breaking the law based on complaints I filed against him back then. And so for whatever reason, he decided that the law wasn't that important. He was just going to continue to break the law now. And so this is really his second go-around with the PDC in just a few years. So we'll see what they end up doing, but these are clear violations. You can't just make your campaign finance money disappear into your own pocket or wherever it is that it's been sent. You do have to report to the public what's happened to it, and both these guys decided not to do that. So that's very clear violations that they committed there as well. Less serious, but sort of interesting as well, is another local Bellingham school director, Jennifer Mason. She's got reelected to the Bellingham School District, and she also failed to legally report some details related to expenditure disclosures about mailers the Democrat Party did for her, as well as her own mailers. Now, I want to point out she's primarily been in the news over the last year or so, and this really had nothing to do with this campaign finance complaint, but she was in the news for basically profiting from selling sex toys to kids. She runs a business called Wink Wink downtown Bellingham that profits from selling sex toys to children and underage kids. And I want to point out that that's perfectly in line with the approach that the Washington State public school system has, where they're really not that concerned about literacy or being able to read or math, but they've the highest priority for OSPI director, Chris Reichtel, has been sex education for kids. And so really having a school director that sells toys to them and profits from that, sex toys, from selling those to the kids, kind of makes sense. It fits with the way the public school system's set up in the state right now. But one thing that we want to encourage is a little bit more literacy when it comes to the law and how it's written, and she clearly didn't display that with how she filed her documents here. So breaking the law simply is an indication, and it reflects poorly on the public education system there for her as well. Now, going back down further southwest in Washington State to Pacific County. Pacific County is beautiful. I love spending time there. It's just, it's a great place. But unfortunately, the Pacific County Democrats have once again broken Washington State's campaign finance laws. They accepted illegal over-limit contributions from former State Senator Taco's surplus account. And this is the Democrat senator who was kicked out last year in the election cycle. And so he had a surplus account, leftover money, and he distributed that to various groups. And he sent quite a bit of money to the Pacific County Democrats, and they failed to report it. And in fact, it was over the limit of what they could accept. You can look this up on PDC case number 102164 if you want to do more research. I will link those down below. But just to put this in perspective, I had filed several complaints against this organization a number of years ago, and they were egregiously violating the law. In fact, just almost all the aspects of the law. And they dissolved their PAC at the time, sent their extra money to the state party. They had to pay a fine. They had to forfeit a bunch of funds. They reconstitute under this mini reporting cycle, and that mini reporting system does not allow them to accept more than $500 from any one source. And so in this case, because this retired, or the state senator who got booted out of office, still he reported how much money he gave to them, and it was clearly over that limit, and the Pacific County Democrats chose to either conceal it and not report it, or potentially somebody stole the money. I can't tell yet what. We'll see what happens. It's just, just another violator that I caught out there, and it's kind of worth pointing out because these guys have been serial violators now for a long, long time. Now I'm going to move on to King County. King County, of course, is the heart of darkness when it comes to freedom and liberty in Washington State, and they're in competition with Olympia as far as where our state capital is, but they are known for the city of Seattle, which is the majority of the population in that county, and filled with a lot of politicians who really don't follow the law and don't do good things. And I find a lot of people that break the law up there. One of them, this is just kind of an interesting one, is really a new candidate, Parminder Body, I think that's how you pronounce it. He ran for the hospital district, the King County Hospital District up there. And his violation was taking illegal over-limit anonymous contributions, thousands of dollars of anonymous contributions, which sort of defeats the whole point of campaign finance disclosures. And he's going to have to forfeit those extra funds, the thousands of dollars that were illegal, back to the state, where it'll get wasted and squandered with the rest of your taxpayer dollars. But this is one of those cases where, even though the violation's his, I'm going to point out that he had used a very well-known Democrat consultant who supposedly was going to keep him on the straight and narrow and make sure that he did followed the law. And I think that this consultant did not do a good job in this case, and probably his consultant's the one who should pay that fine, or at least forfeit his own personal funds instead of this guy, because I think he's a new candidate for office, and he just got screwed over by the Democrat consultant that he decided to hire. Also in King County, I've been working for a number of years, this is based on some public records requests, and getting a lot of information, and the city of Tukwila got the majority of the council this last cycle with illegal concealment of kind of these leftist corporate payments for junket trips that were concealed from the public on their financial affairs reports. And what this really means is that these are special interest corporations or entities, they might call themselves nonprofits, that are basically paying for special junket trips for these elected officials to go out and travel and oftentimes learn about things that are more politically oriented and focused. And in this the case of the city of Tukwila, staff there actually colluded with the elected officials to try to conceal this information from the public and to keep it secret, keep it off the books. It was a lot of different records requests and a lot of different information. If you look at some of my complaints that are related to the city of Tukwila elected officials, and I'm probably going to do a special video on this soon, they have a lot of attachments and exhibits because there was a lot of evidence built up, and it took a little bit of work to find it, but it was a lot of evidence that built up. There's no doubt that these guys broke the law, and it also violates the ethics rules for Washington State and the city of Tukwila Tukwila, which adopted those laws. So there's really a lot of violations here. I anticipate this story is really going to keep on giving more and more as we uncover more bad behavior with the people who are holding elected office in this place. Now, there's a lot of other complaints that I filed with the Public Disclosure Commission. If you've gone to any of my training sessions, you'll know that I do live complaints that right there in the middle of the training session, and I demonstrate how to file a complaint and how to research it so that more people can learn how to do it. As much as I filed about 650 of these, I don't have to be the only one in the state filing them, and I'm happy to teach others how to do that as well. This is one that you'll see from Governor Inslee here, where he concealed his out-of-state corporate board memberships from his financial affairs statements. It's an obvious violation. I filed it actually a few weeks ago at one of these training sessions. And so if you attended that training session up in Marysville, you watched me file it, and it's currently being investigated by the Public Disclosure Commission. And one that I just filed on my own here was against the Washington Conservation Voters PAC. And this is a regular law-breaking group. I've caught them in the past. They've been warned and fined by the PDC for concealing information about their contributions from the public. So they're hiding details and hiding reports and being late, things like that. It's a very common type of violation from this group. They think that the law doesn't really apply to them. I've caught them breaking the law many times before. This is just the most recent one. But it's nevertheless worth exposing and sending out there. There's a lot more that I haven't talked about. You'll see many of these posts on the Public Disclosure Commission's website and their enforcement page. If you attend future training sessions that I'm putting on, you'll see me. I usually, like I said, I try to do at least one complaint per session so people can see how it's done and takes away some of the mystery of that process. And that's basically what I've been up to. There's a lot of you could have worse hobbies out there. So it's just one of the things I like to do. I do try to write about it and track it on my website, which you can see if you go to wethegovern.com. And I also encourage you to read some of these complaints down below that I'll have linked up, and just to make sure that you learn a little bit about this law yourself, and maybe you can also start filing complaints like I do. The more of us with that hobby, the better off we'll be. So there will be a lot more coming soon. I oftentimes don't really get around to talking about these issues, but I think that since I'm spending some time on it, I just like to report back to you what's going on. So again, you want to learn more, go to wethegovern.com. You can subscribe to our free newsletter on our website. You can also financially support our efforts, link down below. Don't forget to share and subscribe to this channel, so share it with others. I'm sure we're being shadow banned a bit out there. For some reason, the elected officials don't like what I'm doing, and I just don't know why. And remember, if you want to make a difference, you want to make an impact in Washington State, you have to remember to show up, because the future belongs to those who show up.